We are back.
Hey guys.
Hey gentlemen, how are you?
Good to see you.
Everybody doing all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Chattanooga yesterday.
What's that?
I was in Chattanooga yesterday.
What'd you do in Chattanooga?
The Tennessee Aquarium.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the best aquarium
It is
in the
good.
South.
It is a nice aquarium.
It is.
It is a nice aquarium.
Yeah. And I
That's
like
what you do when you're a dad.
Well, I like that little area too, where you can just hang out in a lot of restaurants and things. So
Yeah, Puckett's.
Yeah.
We do everything we do in Franklin and Chattanooga.
that's right. They do have a Puckett's there.
A little bit
Yeah.
of useless trivia. Did you know Chattanooga was the first city to have wireless, free, high-speed internet all around the city?
Did not know. That was recently then, I'm guessing.
No, it's been a few years actually.
Wow.
Oh,
Fiber,
okay.
fiber around the whole city.
Weird, because I couldn't get any connection.
No, you got a lot of gadgets there next to your.
Well, I mean, we have a computer set up over here for a guest.
Oh, that's right. Hey,
Speaking of which,
that's a good lead-in. So today, guys, we have a fun guest. One of my favorite people to hang out with, and
you told me I was your favorite person to hang out with.
oh, he pays me more. And somebody I just really have a great time working with. I think we really gel well together, and has really helped our business develop some great initial brands for some of our customers, and really create a strong foundation. Today we have Marcus Meazzo. Everyone, Marcus.
Hey, Marcus.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
He's coming to us via Zoom. Now, Marcus is a brand expert. He has built brands for companies you might have heard of, like PayPal. Have you heard of PayPal?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Wasn't-
SAP.
Wasn't Elon Musk involved with that?
Elon? Who's Elon? Dave Ramsey, Dr. Axe, hundreds of other awesome brands. So, Marcus, welcome to Agency Exposed.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. So glad to have you to be on the show, and really love Brad. And actually, we worked with Bob here, and then Bob Hutchinson. I've only met a few times, but every time I've met you, especially on LinkedIn with all your great content, I've really enjoyed
Thank you.
knowing you. So
Thank you. And you used to be, I guess we'll get into this, you used to be here in Franklin, Nashville, right? Or did you?
Yeah. Yep. I lived in Franklin for a bit, and then moved to actually Columbia, Tennessee, to just hang my hat for about 4 years before moving. So yeah.
Now you're in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Oh,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Home of the Green Bay Packers and all the cheese you want.
Man, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers these days is not really.
Oh boy.
Is you a Packers fan?
Not yet, but am I
So you're
going
not
to
from
after
Wisconsin?
you talk about them?
Yeah, no, you're not. Don't worry, you're not. No, I was just wondering if you were from Wisconsin originally.
No. Actually, I learned my wife so the story goes, we were traveling around the country for about a year after we sold our house in Columbia in an RV. And so one of the stops was Wisconsin Dells, and we enjoyed it there. And then met someone on the road in Wisconsin Dells. They said that Door County was a must to go visit. And so we had to pass through Green Bay and then went to Sister Bay, Door County, and we loved it. And so when we decided to stop traveling, we decided to, plan our roots here a little bit.
Nice.
But I found out that my wife, her great grandfather, is from Milwaukee. So that was fun to know. And so we got to go back where he lived when he went, way back when, and got to kind of see where they lived, and it was a pretty neat little city. So,
Oh, that's cool. How was what is one sentence you could say about your year of traveling with your family in an RV, going to different places, seeing all the sites in the United States, the state parks, and all the things that you did with your family?
wow.
What was the one word that would wrap that all up, like the experience? Would you suggest it for other families?
Oh yeah. Eye-opening
Okay.
would be the one word.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The one is because we have a pretty beautiful country. I didn't realize how beautiful our country was. You can't really understand it until you experience it. And so we went to about 24 different national parks. And so, man, just gorgeous out there.
Wow, what a great experience for your kids too.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
It was wonderful.
Did you do that during 2020? Was that the time you took to?
Yeah, that was my escape.
Nice. That's great.
Our escape.
That's great.
That's awesome. Well, today we wanted to unpack what most of our industry calls branding, and kind of talk a little bit about your philosophy and your background and things that you think a good brand has, what companies need to think about when they think about their brand, and anything else that we can think of.
Such a loaded word.
I know it is. Man. Brand is a really strange thing, because I have like people that reach out to me, or customers, or hey, we want to create a brand, and I find out later that they really just want to create a logo or an identity package maybe, and I'm like, well, I don't know if that's okay. Is that your brand? Is that a brand to you? And so some people feel like that word means different things to different people. So
you think we should invent a new word, Marcus?
Yeah.
Do you have some different language around that? I just feel like brand is so like, I don't know. I like when you create a new terminology.
To kind of get out of the brand word, the vernacular brand, I think it throws people off a little bit. They really don't understand it sometimes. And what I say is just like, how are we going to help you get known? And Brad, you actually have a tagline, right? Be known, right? And what are you known for? And so brand is really a reputation in my eyes. And I was actually thinking about this last night, like what good visual, what good analogy could I come up with to make it easy? And I don't know if you heard of Marty Neumeyer, but Marty talks about it's like dating. Brand is like dating. But I was actually thinking about that a little bit more. I'm like, I feel like branding is like a house. Okay. So whenever you step into someone's house, it's actually you can know a lot about the owner, right? When you step into their home, not only by the visual things that you see, but maybe if you were a fly on the wall and they didn't know you were there, how they would act internally, right? So I believe brand is an inside out kind of a thing. You gotta know who you are first. Like usually when we do websites, when I've created websites like PayPal, by the way, I didn't brand PayPal, just note, I worked for them, but I wish I would have branded PayPal. That would have been an amazing project. But when I was at PayPal, it was all about the outside in, knowing what your customer wants, right? Or like if a product, we built some products, what does the customer want? What does the target audience want? But when you're talking about brand, you got to know thyself first. And so what are your values? What are the things that you care about? What is something that you can own that you're going to be able to run a road with, because what I've found is a lot of people say to themselves, well, I want to aspire to be this, which is nothing's wrong with that. But if it's something that's not really you, if it's not your values, if it's not the thing that's really truly makes you unique, then it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. So
I think that's a good point. I think, would you agree that we see that a lot? I mean, you can almost tell in the marketplace who's the brands that are from within, like actually genuine, and the ones that are more facade, because it's on the one hand, everything is innate and it just kind of all works together, and you don't feel like everyone's trying to hold up some image that really is not accurate. On the other hand, you have a lot of smoke and mirrors, and it's a lot of work to do that, right? Yeah. And then something comes out or whatever, and it falls apart. But I feel like which one has the majority, though, in your opinion? The one that's genuine, or are there fewer genuine? I would imagine there are fewer genuine brands.
Yeah. Well, the the thing is it's catching fire. I'm starting to see, before, back in the day, a brand was just like, it was just advertising, it's just like, hey,
Right.
just get my, it's all features and benefits. Right. But as we've moved towards, more more genuine branding, that's where it has been thrown around a lot. Authenticity, right? People are starting to realize that the customers they're not being fooled as much anymore. I mean, we're marketed to like a million times a day. I don't know. Do you guys? What's the
600.
stats?
I think now this is a stat, but I don't know how true it is. But we see over 600 different marketing messages a day.
I've heard it as high as like a couple thousand, but it just depends on what you define marketing.
Depends on whether or not
messages,
you're on
right?
Facebook.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, so good example, right? An ad, let's say email ad. Okay, if you truly knew yourself and were comfortable with who you were, comfortable in your own skin as a company, and you've built that, you've created that foundation, right? Came to a guy like me or a brand strategist and said, okay, let's figure out what our voice is, how we're gonna tell the world who we really are. Don't you think that's going to come out in your ads? Don't you think that's going to come out? And it's going to come out in a genuine way, right? Opposed to, well, what do I need to be? What do I need to be? So I'm liked, So I never decorate my house. Like that, going back to the house analogy, I would never decorate my house for a punk rocker that's coming to my house, right? I wouldn't. I would be who I am.
You wouldn't have Sid Vicious paintings on the wall and things,
right? Yeah, right. But if I did decorate like a punk rocker, and he came in, he's like, man, this guy likes punk rock, and I like classical music. He's gonna start asking me all these questions, like, well, tell me about punk rock. Yeah.
So
what was your favorite band? And I'm sitting there looking at him like, and then what is he gonna do?
The Clash.
So you're saying a brand can't be all things to all people?
Well, that, and they can't be who they're not.
Got it.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask a question. I get these random questions that pop in my head. What do you do for a brand? Let's say you're hired to work on strategy for a brand, and you realize that their product that they're selling, as an organization, they may be awesome, but the products that they have are lackluster. Where it's hard to make promises about the products and services because the products and services don't hold up to their actual message that they want to, or themselves as people. How do you address that?
Yeah, that's and that could be a very delicate conversation. You have to you have to know how to say things to the customer. In a polite way, I would say, look, what's your goal here? Is your goal to just be a commodity brand where you just want to get in there, and get out? You want to sell your product as much as you can and get out, then great, we can keep going. But if you want a value-driven brand and you want a brand that you feel like really represents who you truly are, if it's lacking luster, we're going to have to pivot. We're going to have to find something that is unique about you. And you know what? A lot of people think, oh gosh, how am I going to be unique? Well, it's kind of like a compounded figure. If you have a number of things that blend together, I mean, your story could, if you sell a mug, right? Just a simple mug, you're in the mug business. There's a lot of mugs out there. But if you combine this mug with a story, right? With a story, something that's unique, and how you serve your customers, that can make you a value-driven brand versus you just selling mugs. So I believe people want to, when they do see a brand, they want to identify themselves with that thing. Like when I bought this mug, it's from Poland. Okay. And, I like fine porcelain Polish pottery. Right. And so I don't know, call me weird, but
that's a unique niche.
Say again.
So that's a unique niche.
Yeah, exactly. So why did I buy that? It's because I like the craft of good porcelain, right? And I like drinking good coffee out of good porcelain. So, and the reason why I picked them is because they had a story, and they look like they love their craft, and they look like they truly stand behind their product. And to me, that's unique, And so hopefully I answer your question, Brad.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's good. I think those are some questions that, as an agency, we find sometimes it's like, okay, you want to create a brand, but when you actually dive into the product, you have to find that brand in the organization or some other promises or something else uniquely about the company. So I think that's definitely good.
I was on a webinar yesterday, and we were talking about how things have changed in the last couple of years. And not to beat that dead horse. Nothing against horse lovers. I love horses. But what would you say, as 2021, we're sitting here, is there anything different about how you engage with your customers, or as you talk to people about branding? Specifically, I'm thinking the way you communicate your brand maybe than 3 years ago.
Yeah. Definitely. Like, it's all about simplicity. There's so much coming at you nowadays that it seems like, and I have actually the book here, Brand Simple. Remember that book?
Mm-hmm.
You guys read that book?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really a fan of that book because you got to be simple. You can't, people will not, your message has to be simple. It has to be succinct. It has to show clarity into who you are, your ethos. If you are too complicated, people do not stop to look. So that's one thing I've learned. When people are trying too hard, my son has this term, Dad, that's so try hard. If if you're a try hard, people see right through it, And so, today's day and age, simple words, authenticity, simple.
Do you have a process, Marcus, that you walk your clients through? And if so, can you do a high flyover of what that process is? I think so many people listening, like you said, Brad, they may not have a full understanding of how to work with clients on brand, meaning we're an agency and we have a great creative department and we do killer creative for our clients.
Yeah.
That's just one part of the brand.
Mm-hmm. And I find that half the clients that we work with have done a lot of brand work already, and they've created a lot of they've gone through a process, and they understand it. And there's other half that just doesn't know how to even start. So I think that I would love to hear a little bit more, Marcus. I know you've taken me through some of your process before, which I thought was really enlightening. And so,
I mean, the process starts with the invisible traits, right, of who you are, right, and then it goes all the way up to your more, the things that people see, like your visible traits, right? So, the process would go, let's start at the foundation, almost like if you saw a pyramid. It really starts with your pillars and your values and your beliefs. What we have to have a North Star to look at every day. So anything we create from here on out, we have this barometer kind of set on the side here that would direct us as to how we communicate our brand or how we express our brand through the visuals. So values and beliefs would be first, and then we would create pillars from that, right? We would understand the culture we want to be in. So really understanding who we're talking to, okay, is another thing. Really understanding, like, once we know our values, who we are, what we own, okay, in our minds, who are the people that is our ideal target audience that we want to serve. See, that I want to bookmark that real quick. I spent most of my life trying to get customers that really, just recently, I just realized this, we're not really my target audience. I was trying to brand small, like some of these just any company that would say hi to me, that would want to use me for their company. And I would always get stuck with the smaller clients because all they care about right now is just getting out there and making money. And they don't really want to invest in the foundation. I wish they would. So you have to know who your right target audience is going to be, and you need to niche it down. I was also too broad. I'm realizing that I'm best branding people. I'm a person. My whole past has been mostly personalities. So why am I trying to brand, a widget if that's my experience? So anyways, it's values and beliefs, know yourself, culture, who do you want to serve? Attributes and benefits. What are the things what are the attributes and benefits that would be a perfect fit between you and your customer? And I call that the brand gap. And actually I've heard it from other professionals. It's that brand gap. You have to close the gap between you and your customer, right? So you got your customer over here, you got you over here. You both have, back to the right guest at your house. If you are a classy person, you're putting on a classy, dinner, you probably a punk rocker may not like that atmosphere. No offense, punk rockers. No offense, punk rockers. You may.
You just offended my punk rock and me
and half our audience.
Yeah, I don't want to get a bunch of mad punk rockers knocking down my door. But hey, let's just stick with that for a minute. But you need to invite the guests that are going to enjoy the atmosphere, right? So you have to close that gap by understanding your attributes and benefits, and then also your behavior, how you act within your own house. Is it consistent? That's the thing, is if you're not consistent with if who you truly are and how you behave within the confines of the walls of your company, if that's not consistent with what people think about you outside, there's something wrong. And so you have to really understand, how are we going to behave inside? And is it consistent with how we're going to behave outside our walls? Right?
Yeah. What if I came to you as like a CEO or a C-level employee or from a company, and I said, listen, I want to build a brand. I have 1,000 employees, and I want all of my employees and other agency partners to follow this brand that we're creating of who we are, right? What kind of tools do you think are good, like from an internal standpoint, to create that consistency? Like, how do you make sure that some agency that they're hired or some other creative person doesn't go rogue and start to take the brand in a place where, it wasn't originally, it's not the heart and soul of the company. It's something they personally want to do.
So are you, okay. So you're saying, like, if an agency creates something and then they take an internal, how do you mitigate?
Yeah. How do you help a company create the consistency? Like, how do you create tools internally that they can use, or how do you, things to message internally so that employees understand the brand?
That's always a challenge. Okay. So I had a good example of that when I was at actually Assurian. We had an agency that created all these great things for the brand, but then it was just the internally, it was just hard for us to develop it. So I think it all starts with making sure, if it's a larger company, it's going to be harder to do this, but if it's a smaller company, making sure what you're creating for them, they actually are bought into it. And you're asking for tools. Well, I believe a very clear brand guide that then is communicated well. I think that's the key, is making sure that people buy into what you're doing and it's communicated well throughout the entire company. Almost you go as far as like having like consistent meetings every month or something, just to revisit who we are, what we do, plastered on the walls, making sure that everybody's bought into it. Because if you don't revisit it all the time, people are going to forget about it. People, and you can have all these things in place, but if they don't use them, it's just going to be useless. So, and that takes good leadership.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So I think a good tool is leadership. So
yeah, I know you're at Ramsey, and I know the organization really, really well.
Yeah,
I would say that if anyone listening knows, of Dave Ramsey and the Ramsey organization, that would be true.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They
bought into the vision. Yep.
And they may be polarizing too, like for better, for worse, from the outside, it is polarizing when you have a certain belief, right? Whatever it may be. If you're not polarizing, you may not have a strong brand.
Right.
But we can debate that if we want to. But that is an example of what you're saying, I think,
yes.
where it's bought in from the inside out and it's genuine.
Well, I want to tell you, I had a great time at Ramsey, and the one thing he did very well is communicate every week. He set time aside every week to communicate the vision, to articulate the brand in different scenarios. And that's why you see such a love for those that work there, a love for the mission that he's created for people that need to be or want to be debt free.
Yeah.
And so, and then here's a good example of your inside matching your outside, right? The very thing that they believe in, he wants his people to practice what they preach. So they own the mission. And don't you think that's going to reflect in everything from the top down? Like, it's going to reflect in everything they do, from customer service to designing the products, to you name it. It matches. And the people, the customers, target audience, is bought into this. So you're building that tribe, a very strong tribe. And you've heard that word as well, right? Tribe, build your tribe. What does that mean? That means you need to create a product or a service or a business or a brand that it is gonna have a following, and is going to you're gonna have followers that won't go anywhere else. So.
What are the challenges or differences, I would say, between working with a company and organization like those we've mentioned, and, like you said, working with individuals and personalities? What are the differences, challenges? How do you approach them uniquely?
The difference between personalities and
yeah,
products.
So it seems like it would be easier if you had, say, a musical artist or sports personality that said, I want to increase my brand, my reach. I want to, I'm retiring, but I want to continue my career. I'm sure you worked with people like that. What is the process, or how would you approach that differently, say, than a company that came to you and said, "Hey, we've got this product and we want to reach a bazillion people"?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know what? I kind of come out the same way with my process. Like, it all comes back to your values and beliefs and what's unique about you, and it either can be a person or a business. The person, you can be a little bit more, it's a little bit more personal, right? As a person, but there's really, Brad, we worked on a few projects together. A lot of them were products. I did the branding the same way as
and I think
worked on. Yeah, go ahead.
That's one of the things, and I think that one of the things that I I share with clients and stuff is that really a brand is like a person. And so when you're building a brand, you know, a lot of people will start to look at like, how do I create a brand persona? What if this person, this brand was a person? How would they act? What type of beliefs would they have? What are their values? So I always think of, you know, we always talk about brand relationship. Well, a relationship is with a human being another human being. Right. So we always look at brands anyways, whether it's a company or if you're branding an individual as a person, as a something that is going to have the same type of, type of introduction. Like when the brand comes, when you first meet the brand, how do you feel about it? You know? And so I think, and those are all the ways too that help express the brand, you know, if it's who was telling me this? There's a brand that they created a persona, and they're like, okay, who is somebody that we all know of? And it was like Tammy, what's her name? Tammy Faye.
Tammy Faye.
Oh, yeah. Tammy Faye, yeah, the writer Tammy Faye, the comedian Tammy Faye.
Oh yeah,
just
wait, no.
Just like her, what?
No, you're talking about Tammy Faye Baker.
No,
that's somebody else.
No.
Tammy Faye Baker?
No, sorry.
Wasn't there some controversy around her?
Who? Tammy? No,
Tammy
not
Faye
Baker, not her.
Okay.
We're gonna get in trouble, guys.
I know. Now you're
pick an easier one.
We hit the algorithm now.
Everyone now is
going to ban us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Searches for terms.
Oh, that's a whole nother topic. Right?
So, anyways, just creating. You know, sometimes you take somebody. Maybe it's a celebrity or something that everyone seems to already know their personality at some level, and saying, hey, if our brand was this is kind of the personality of the person, and so what it does is it helps other people kind of identify like that type of person.
You make it into
brand.
A human,
yeah,
right,
because I think it's the challenge that we find, and I think Marcus, you've really helped a lot, is defining when I say our brand is this. Another person can hear that, but not actually have the same vision that I have in my head.
Right.
Completely, because of their experiences and their lenses are different. So being able to kind of quantify that and put that down in something that everybody can kind of get, and so they all share that same understanding of what the brand is, I think is really important. But it's also really hard.
It is hard. Yeah. It can't. You know, then that's why you would probably want to hire someone to help you through it, because I'll tell you right now, I can't see outside my own jar. You know, I need someone to pull it out of me. That's why it's so valuable to get someone to, even outside the company, to look in and see and to help pull things out.
So when you like, let's say you sit down with a new customer and you develop this brand for them, and now it's time to like express this brand in a visual way, whether it's an identity or logo and all the other images and things that help express writing and language. Yeah. How do you do that? Like, what do you take to inform your decisions? And, you know, I mean, you know, a lot of people are like, man, I got a logo on Fiverr for like $5. That was awesome. Like,
yeah,
you know, how do you, when clients are used to doing that kind of stuff, how do you show them that the identity that you're creating or your team is creating is a better way to do it than just going and you know, going to guy in Fiverr or girl?
Sure. That's a great question. Well, once you go through the process of knowing who you are, what you are, knowing who your audience is, all those things, then you kind of know, like, well, what is that tone and voice that we want to articulate that's not only going to support who we really are, but who our customers are going to really be connected to, right? And so tone and voice really is, I call those the brand expression pillars, right? And those pillars should describe, usually they're about 3, okay? And they should describe you in a nutshell. Okay, so if you are fun and witty, and that's who you really are, your brand should be fun and witty. Okay, well, what does that look like? What do we do when we're fun and witty? What do we not do? Are we going to be stoic and very modern and clean and have no personality? Well, to me, that doesn't look like fun and witty. To me, fun and witty is, you have some personality in the design, a little bit of hand-drawn elements, who knows? But that is for you and your customers to really decide, because you not only want to design something, but you also want to test it. And I think that's where testing's huge. You don't want to just design something and then go, okay, that's it, it's a wrap. No, you want the customers that you want to attract to look at these designs. And so anyways, what I would just say is it starts with your brand. It starts with the expression pillars you feel that really articulates your brand, right? And then it's creating the things that match those pillars. Again, back to the North Star. You need a barometer. You need a North Star to look at every day, so you're on track. And that goes not only for your visual, but also how you speak. So, and that's my answer. That's my final answer, Brad.
All right.
I'm a big believer in the phrase or the concept of don't build campaigns, build conversations. And
I like it.
And I think the personification aspect is what I keep going back to. And in this conversation is if you can always just really remember that people don't respond to ads, they respond to what they're interested in. They respond to conversations. And if an ad happens to be something they're interested in, then great. But you're really trying to get your customer to see themselves in a mirror using your product. And the only way to do that is to have that conversation, that human engagement interaction. And if you can achieve that with your right audience, great. But I love the idea of really personifying everything from the beginning. I think that's that alone. If any takeaway from this conversation is if people can help other clients do that, I think it's a huge win.
That is huge. Yeah.
I'm curious, if we can turn this inward for the last few minutes, because, agencies, and they're all kinds of across the spectrum. Some are like big, obviously, and do this a lot and have their own philosophies. A lot of them aren't, right? A lot of them are small, new, one person, that kind of thing. And that's fine. That is probably the majority. But I do feel like the brand of agencies, aside from the big advertising ones, but even those, like that, there doesn't seem to be a lot of focus on that generally in the marketplace. How do you turn this inward and actually say, how do you apply the branding principles to my service organization, like to yourself, whether you're one or a few people, whether you're, a niche inside of marketing or you do something else, doesn't matter. But how do you turn that around and actually brand your service? Because I actually think that it's funny, because I feel like that ball's missed most of the time.
Yeah, it's like the plumber who doesn't have running water at home. It's hard.
Because then you get a bunch of agencies who are agencies, and then it's like, I don't know the difference between A, B, and C agency.
And the branding is really bad.
Well, Brad has a good case study.
Yeah. I always say it's kind of like writing your own resume. I don't know if you've ever had to in the past write your own resume, but it's easier if you get a resume writer, like someone who does it for a living. It's easier for them. It's like you just sit there and they interview you, and then all of a sudden you look at this resume and you're like, that's me? I'm like, yeah, that's you. And I'm like, wow, okay. And it's harder sometimes to do that. It's harder sometimes to brand your own agency. Number one, because it's time consuming and it's always hard to find time.
It doesn't pay immediate returns.
It doesn't pay immediate returns, right? But number two, it's hard sometimes because as a business owner, sometimes you can become so close, or you don't understand what makes you really unique. Like until somebody on the outside tells you, like, this is really unique. This is something about you or your value that you have that you don't know is very unique, but it actually is. Let's unpack that a little further. Let's find those gold nuggets in your business and bring them to light. And I think sometimes it's helpful to have someone like Marcus on your side that can actually speak into those things and find those little nuggets and help you unpack those things.
Yeah,
that's good.
I mean, I had to and Brad, I mean, just recently I was going through a little identity crisis myself. Like I've been doing this for everybody else, but I was actually starting to realize I'm missing something myself. Like even the guys that do it for a living are confused. I mean, so if that's happening, then everybody needs someone on the outside to come in and help get that stuff out of them. Because again, you won't do it. If you don't pay for it, if you don't invest in it, if you do not take the time aside to do it, you're going to be walking sometimes half in the dark, and it's not a good feeling. I know it's not a good feeling for me. I would have sleepless nights over it. So I don't know. Does anybody,
I think
agree with that? Or
well, I think it's a great example of the value of third party, and I think branding and brand practices are something that you almost always, 99.9% of the time, have to bring in an outside person. Because it is, if you see your brand, your company as a person, it's almost next to impossible to have that level of self-awareness to really say, okay, who are we, and what is our personalities, and what are we good at, what are we not good at? That can be very, very one-sided when you're on the inside. And so the same thing with us as our own agencies or individuals, if we're solopreneurs, it'd be good. So have you hired an agency to help you brand yourself?
I'm actually working with someone right now to help me get through the garbage.
Yeah.
That's good. And so,
and it's good to, to bounce ideas off and have someone that can speak into you, that can kind of, that you trust, that can give you the good and the bad, and try to, and there might be some shifts that have to happen internally too. Like, I think once you start to identify those values, you start to own them more as a business owner. And then you start to make sure that those are the values that you yourself can live by, and also then hopefully pass on to other employees and these values, and you can speak them more to your team. And it's a fun ride. I really enjoyed, brand development for your own company a little bit is kind of like, self-exploration.
I was going to say, is it like going to a therapist,
kinda
Marcus?
Like
are you a therapist for all these clients?
It is. I've had clients cry. I mean, honestly, going through this stuff, they'd be like crying. I'm like, what's going on here?
And
what have I signed up for?
You know what? In the end, I think that so many companies and leaders of companies do everything for the bottom line. And after years of doing it for the bottom line, nobody cares about the bottom. I mean, it's all about money. And the problem is when your whole life is built around, your whole existence is just around money, you have to get back to the basics of why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that can be the thing that why people start crying, because they finally get back to the thing they loved, like the reason why they're doing it. And it's not about money; it's about other people and what their product can offer other people and help the world. And they look at their products differently, and it can really stem, like it can really be a flame that can change really the course of any company and the products that they develop and all sorts of things. So I think you're right. It is kind of like therapy.
That's awesome.
And the one question I would ask a client would be like, if you were to be able to get up every day doing something and you never got paid for it, what would that one thing be? That stirs a lot of interesting conversation. Another thing is, what would be your, like, if you went into a graveyard and you saw your business's epitaph, what would you want it to say? What would you want it to say? What legacy would you want to leave behind? I mean, if you go back to Dave Ramsey, I know his epitaph is he helped as many people as possible get out of that, that they were stuck in. That's a noble thing. And that's a very noble thing. And so, what is that noble thing? And again, you could be a businessman that just wants to sell widgets. And if you want to just sell widgets and you want it to be more of a commodity brand, hey, all power to you. But because there's so many people selling widgets, even those guys may want to consider asking themselves, why am I doing this? Simon Sinek, right? Why, the golden circle. it's a great place to start too. Ask that why. And so, and I know I'm doing it. I know Brad did it. I know, I'm sure the Bobs are going to have done it. And if you haven't, hey, I'm right here to help.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Well, man, thank you so much for your time, Marcus. How can people find you? You have how can they hire you just
Meazzo.com. It's just my last name, meazzo.com. And just go on there if you want to schedule an appointment. I do free 30-minute calls just to unpack some things for you. And if you want to go further, great. If not, hey, at least I could help you for those 30 minutes. And so that's it.
Awesome. Do you have any last words for us? Any last words of hope as we
hope
go back at it? Go work with our clients.
Just appreciate who you are as a person, and get to know yourself. Slow down for a minute and breathe, and take time to invest back into your own, self. Because I feel like we're running amok, serving so many other people. It's so refreshing when you can just pause for a moment. And Brad, you did a great job doing that. I was so honored to be able to work with you on your stuff. And Medicake is a great brand, and you actually know what your niche is. That was the cool thing. Is you guys know what you love doing. Is you love the e-commerce piece.
Well, on that point too, it's funny because that's why I asked about turning it in. I know we're trying to wrap up here, but just to end on this is even that, so I'm big on specialization, and I think that's important, especially in the service world. But even then, you kind of have to go and we've done a lot of soul searching as to, we're not. I don't want to be known for a service. I want to be known for the result I created in the world. And it's not just helping businesses do e-commerce. And so we've kind of even gone further into our thing is we really care about helping grow brands that matter. And I believe that because I believe that, in the society we have, the better brands are, the better society is. I mean, if there's one thing that is the biggest influence on people, it's the brands that they own. It's the brands that they interact with. So that's kind of a philosophical thing. I only say that to say, even then, you're trying to, I think you should always be pushing towards that, because if I were to be honest with you, I don't even think that is strong enough yet. I think that, again, looking at yourself as, if there's something written on my tombstone as a company, what does that look like? And then how does that mission actually get done? And then how do I make money doing that? Because that has to be the case. And sometimes those things, a lot of times they pull apart, right? For Dave, it got to the point where it was aligned, right? But for a lot of people, when they're trying to, especially when they're starting a business, it's like the mission and the money might pull apart, right? It might not be, I might not be able to, make money doing the thing that is directly aligned with my mission every single day yet, right? It may be an effect that comes after momentum.
That's
anyway,
good.
It's hard to bridge that. And I think that is probably one of the challenges that people go through with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get off my soapbox for a second, but
no, I love it. But I love that, man.
That's awesome. Good. Well, Marcus, thanks again, and hope everything goes well up in Wisconsin, and stay warm this winter because it's coming.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
See ya. Thanks, guys.